All right, guys. So I guess we are live. So please welcome. All right. So I think I am visible, right? So welcome aboard to Unacademy and this live session here. I hope I'm audible and visible to all of you here, right? So let's begin with the discussion now. Let's begin with the discussion with respect to the various current affairs that we are supposed to take up today. So let's begin the discussion from there, right? So just a moment, yeah. So please let me know in the comment section if I'm audible and visible to all of you. And in case you have any queries at any point of time, you can ask me in the comment section, right? Now, as you guys would already be aware of the fact, we have been covering current affairs here, right? So we have been covering current affairs for the month of or from the month of January, right? So we've covered January, we've covered February, we've covered March and April as well. So today we are going to come to the discussion pertaining to the month of May. So today here we'll be covering the current affairs from the month of May. All right. We'll just wait for 2 more minutes for a few more people to join in, and in case they do or do not, we'll begin with the discussion then. Meanwhile, in case anybody has any doubts pertaining to anything with respect to the preparation or anything in general, please feel free to ask me whatever doubts you guys have. Am I on? So I guess a lot of people are getting on board. We'll just wait for 1 more minute, guys, and then we'll commence. All right, so let's begin with the current affairs discussion now, guys. So what have we been doing? We have been discussing current affairs so far. So we have covered from January up till April yesterday. So we've had five classes already. This is the sixth session in the series here. So we've already covered five of them. Now let's come on to the next one, wherein we'll discuss about the current affairs from the month of May. Now, this time the lockdown was going on in India, right? And another big event that took place was the locust attack, right? So you must have all noticed how locusts flew in huge, flocks, and how that was a menace, right? Now, when we talk about the unusual locust attack in urban areas of India, what do we notice? That there have been unusual sightings of swarms of locusts even in urban areas of Rajasthan, parts of Madhya Pradesh, and the Vidarbha region of Maharashtra, right? So we usually do not observe it in all these places, but this year it was quite unusual and they were sighted in all these places as well, right? The desert locust, that is Schistosera gregaria, is a short-horned grasshopper, right? It is usually harmless when it is unaccompanied, right? एक आध कुछ नहीं करेगा. However, locusts undergo a behavioral change when their population builds up rapidly, right? They are actually like gregarious pests. That is, they live in huge colonies, And when those huge colonies come to, or those huge swarms come to, like an area altogether, that is when it becomes dangerous, or it begins to, harm crops and all those things. Now, what do? They form huge swarms, and that can travel up to like about 150 kilometers per day, eating up every bit of greenery on their way, right? Going on further, these insects feed on a large variety of crops, right? They can threaten the food security of a country. And in India, locusts are normally sighted during July or October along the Pakistan border, right? Their growth can be controlled by spraying insecticides on locusts' night resting places like trees. Until date, the Locust Warning Organization, who has carried out spraying operations in Rajasthan, and India has also ordered for specialized insecticide sprayers with the UK, and drones will also be used to spray the resting places, right? So this is what has happened this year. So you all must have noticed, or heard or read about it in the news, wherein the huge locust swarms had flocked all over the areas and fields in India, in the states of Rajasthan and others, right? So that is what had happened here. Going on further, like when we speak about the early arrival of locusts, what all issues can be the reason for the same? So their early arrival can be attributed to the following factors. So what all factors are there? पहली चीज है cyclonic storms, right? Mikunu and Lubun that had struck Oman and Yemen respectively in 2018 had also turned large tracts into lakes, which facilitated locust breeding, right? Now for their breeding process, they do need some amount of water and all those things, right? Now, once the cyclonic storms of Mikunu and Luban had struck the Oman and Yemen areas respectively, so they had turned large desert tracts into lakes. So basically, those areas which were dry and arid originally are now transferred, or have now been transformed into, different kinds of your lakes for that matter here. Now, going further, swarms attacking crops in East Africa reached the peak populations from 2019 in November. The population increase in southern Iran and Pakistan since the beginning of 2020 has also been noted. Heavy rains in East Africa in March April enabled further breeding of the same, and the swarms were aided by high speed wind and thus made their way to such urban areas, right? So, this is what was noticed over here, right? I hope this is clear to everybody here. Now, going on further, talking about the ideathon on future river management. So, I'll just give you a minute here. So, just read through this and then I'll continue further. Just read through this slide here. If you have any doubts also, you can ask me simultaneously. So I think it's clear to everybody here, precisely clear. Now going on further guys, let's go on to the next aspect here wherein we talk about the next current affair that we have in line, which is what? Which is going to be related to what? It is going to be related to the like how the ideathon was there and how it is going to be, like how can we say that it is basically the future of your river management now, right? So when we speak of that, what is going to be done here? Let's have a look at that, right? Now, when we speak of the ideathon, so what had happened recently, the National Mission for Clean Ganga, that is NMCG, and the National Institute of Urban Affairs, that is NIUA, had organized an ideathon, right? जैसे हम लोग hackathons करते थे, right? For hacking into different softwares or maybe, different kinds of your, what do we say, app development drives and all those things used to be done. So now recently the National Mission for Clean Ganga, that is NMCG, and the National Institute of Urban Affairs, right, NIUA, had organized an ideathon on the future of river management, right. The aim of the event here was to explore how the COVID-19 crisis can shape river management strategies for the future, right. Going on further, Namami Gange की अगर हम लोग बात करें, so Namami Gange as implemented by the NMCG and NIUA plan to bring out a policy paper based on the event, right? So that is there. Now, when we speak about NMCG, what is it exactly going to do or talk about here? It is the implementation wing of the National Ganga Council, right? It was established in the year 2011 as a registered society, and it was under the Ministry of Jal Shakti, right? It has a two-tier management structure and it comprises of the governing council and the executive committee, right? So that is there, right? So that is with respect to the ideathon here. Now, I'll just give you guys a minute to read through it. So basically, this was for brainstorming new ideas and strategies that can actually, basically be utilized or made use of or resorted to, right? So that is about it. So quickly read through it and then I'll continue with the discussion. All right, now going on further, coming on to the next aspect here, let's talk about the super year for biodiversity, right? Now we will talk about the super year for biodiversity. Now, what is happening here? So, the year 2020 is defined as the super year for biodiversity, as the strategic plan for biodiversity with 20 global IG targets adopted in the year 2010 and it ends in 2020, right? So that is there. The SPB, that is the Super Year for Biodiversity, was adopted by the parties to the CBD during the 10th meeting of the Conference of Parties in 2010 in Nagoya in Japan, with the purpose of inspiring broad-based action in support of biodiversity over the next decade by all countries and stakeholders, right? So that is about it. The strategic plan here is comprised of a shared vision, a mission, and 20 targets organized under 5 strategic goals, collectively known as the IG biodiversity targets, right? Speaking of the vision here, so the vision that is basically projected here it revolves around living in harmony with nature, where by 2050 biodiversity is valued, conserved, restored, and wisely used, maintaining ecosystem services, sustaining a healthy planet, and delivering the essential benefits to all or for all people. Right? The mission here is to take effective and urgent action to, excuse me, halt the loss of biodiversity in order to ensure that by 2020 ecosystems are resilient and continue to provide essential services, thereby securing the planet's variety of life and contributing to human well-being and poverty eradication, right? So that is with respect to the mission over here, right? So that is about it. Please read through this slide in case you are not clear with any point. If you have a doubt with respect to anything, you guys let me know here. पूछ लो अगर कोई डाउट है कुछ क्लियर नहीं है सो आस्क मी राइट अवे. All right, now going on further, talking about this, like the next topic here. I hope everybody is clear about these here. So now going on further, let's talk about the challenges faced by India in its efforts for, like biodiversity conservation and all those things, right? So the first and the foremost problem that we actually face here is low awareness regarding government programs, right? That is the first problem that we come across here, right? Then different forest fires, they are also a cause of concern. Then threat of invasive alien species, that is another very big problem out here. Right. Then going on further, what is the next one that we have over here? What is that? That is going to be threat of invasive alien species, right? Going on further, it talks about poor capacity building at the local level, right? Then data collection. So India lacks human and technical resources that are needed to compile, analyze data for implementation and monitoring of NBSAP, right? So that is over there, right? So all these issues, all these things are there, and different things need to be mentioned here outrightly, so as to make sure that different issues are addressed for that matter, right? So that is there. Now coming to the next very important issue that escalated during this time, that was the leak in the LG Polymers factory, right? So LG Polymers में जब leak हुआ था, that was a very important thing that took place, and what all are the repercussions of the same, how it's affecting people, what all things have been going on in here are very important that you all have to take cognizance of and take note of here. Right now, when we speak about this thing here, that is your LG polymers leak, can someone tell me in the comment section that has something similar occurred or happened in India before? Like जैसे LG polymers के case में हुआ था, there was this leak or there was this huge gas leak with respect to your styrene gas, but has something similar also happened previously? क्या कभी ऐसा कुछ पहले कभी हुआ है? Has something happened which is somehow similar? Has something similar happened previously? All right, so when we speak of this one here, so LG polymers में जो इस बार हुआ, that is what has recently happened, was basically the Vizag gas leak that took place here, was that कि styrene gas जो थी plant में से release हो गई, right? So styrene gas was just released from the plant, and that is what caused the problem here, right? Now, a similar thing that has previously happened over here was with respect to the 1985 में there was this भोपाल gas tragedy that took place जहाँ पर methyl isocyanate जो है वो release हो गई थी, right? So that is what had happened previously, and that is very well a cause of concern that we originally or initially had. Now, what happened as a result of the leak from the Bhopal gas tragedy? The entire town was engulfed in a blanket of methyl isocyanate, and a lot of repercussions of the same had been faced or have been faced by people. Right, so that was there. Now, what has happened here? Something similar has happened in this case also. That while the lockdown was underway and the plant was shut down, right? The plant बंद था इतने time से. So what had happened? Like as a result of the plant being shut down, obviously there must have been certain wear and tear and certain like different gases and different what do we say, chemicals would have had an adverse impact, as a result of which what happened, the LG polymers जो थे वहाँ से वाइजैग में जो उनका प्लांट था वहाँ से a lot of gas leak took place, right? So the National Green Tribunal's order in the Visakhapatnam gas tragedy, जिसको वाइजैग gas tragedy भी बोलते हैं, found LG polymers liable, right, under the principle of strict liability. अभी strict liability क्या बोलते हैं कि अगर आप कोई hazardous substance रखते हो अपने premises में, right, उससे related रायलेंस वर्सेस फ्लेचर में ये रूल डिस्कस्ड भी है, राइट? सो अगर उससे रिलेटेड लाइक लॉ में दिस इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट प्रिंसिपल. सो व्हाट हैपेंस अगर वहाँ से कुछ लीक होता है या वहाँ से कुछ डैमेज होता है तो देयर इज गोइंग टू बी स्ट्रिक्ट लायबिलिटी ऑफेंस दैट इज गोइंग टू बी arising out of it, right? For instance, if I keep a deadly snake as my pet in my garden, right, and that snake somehow escapes to my neighbor's garden and maybe cuts a little kid there, or a person there, and the person is not do well because of the snake bite, the absolute liability for such an incident taking place lies on me. Why on me? Because this is indeed a strict liability offense when I know that it is going to be, or it is an imminent danger that is going to be posed because of, like say for instance, hosting a snake in my garden, or, keeping a snake in my garden. It is important to realize that that snake does not go out or exit just like that, and it has to be taken proper care of here so as to ensure that at all points of time there is no particular damage, or though there is no imminent threat or danger that arises as a result of the same, right? So the National Green Tribunal's order in the Visakhapatnam gas tragedy found LG Polymers liable under the principle of strict liability. It was sacked in India by the Supreme Court in 1986. However, the lawyers say that the term absolute liability should have been used instead, right? So these kind of things were going on. So this is what happened. Now, what is the strict liability principle? Let's have a look at that. So, under this principle, a party is not liable and need not pay compensation if a hazardous substance escapes his premises by an accident or an act of God, among other some circumstances. Right? It was evolved in an 1968 English case, which provided companies with several exemptions from assuming the liability for the same. Right? Now, when we talk about the absolute liability principle, what happens here? So, the Supreme Court, while deciding the oleum gas leak case of Delhi in 1986, found strict liability inadequate to protecting citizens' rights and replaced it with absolute liability principle. Under this principle, a company in a hazardous industry cannot claim any exemptions, right? It has to mandatorily pay compensation whether or not the disaster was caused by its negligence or not. right? And it is a part of Article 21 for right to life. The example that I was talking about, the snake being on the premises, comes under the absolute liability principle, right? Because absolute liability means you have absolutely no defenses to defend your cause or situation. Whereas when we speak about strict liability, you might as well have a little, a way to tackle or come up with an explanation or an excuse. But when we speak about strict liability principle, there is absolutely no excuse available for any kind of wrongdoings on a person's part, right? So that is there. Now talking about the next very wait, I'll just give you guys a minute to go through both these slides. So just read through this one first, and then I'll give you like the second slide to read. I hope you've read this one. Now please read this one. In case you guys have any doubts, ask me right away. I'm waiting for your comments. All right, so let's get going with the discussion. So I don't think so anybody has any doubts because I did not receive any comments regarding that. So now I'll go on to the next topic here, that is the State of World's Forest Report 2020, right? Now this is different from State of India. We have already covered the State of India's Forest Report. Now we are going to talk about the State of World's Forest Report of 2020, right? Now, what has happened recently, the United Nations Environment Program, that is UNEP, and the Food and Agricultural Organization, that is FAO, they have jointly released a report titled The State of World's Forest 2020, right? Now, this audit examines the contributions of forests and of people who use and manage them to the conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity, right? It assesses progress to date in meeting global targets and goals relating to forest biodiversity. It also describes the effectiveness of policies, actions, and approaches for conservation and sustainable developments alike, illustrated by cases or case studies of innovative practices and win-win solutions, right? The issue of SOFO, that is the state of world's forests here, draws upon the results of FAO's Global Forest Resources Assessment, that is FRA 2020. The FRA 2020 here examined the status and trends of more than 60 variables related to the extent, characteristics, condition, management, and uses of forests across 236 countries and areas over the time period or span of 1990 to 2020, right? So that is when it was observed over here, right? Now, going on further, talking about the next aspect, talking about the key findings of the report. So, what was clearly stated in that report was that when we talk about the contribution of forests, right? So, forest provides habitats for about 80% of the amphibian species, 75% of the bird species, and 68% of the mammal species. About 60% of vascular plants are found in tropical forests. Forests provide more than 86 million green jobs and supports the livelihoods of an estimated 80 million people worldwide, most of them being women. Forests supply water, mitigate climate change, and provide habitats for many pollinators that are essential for sustainable food production. When we speak about the area covered by forests, please note that the forests cover about 31% of the global land area, and more than half of the world's forests are found in only 5 countries. Which are those 5 countries? We have Brazil, Canada, China, Russia, and the US. More than 100 million hectares of forests are adversely affected or impacted by issues such as forest fires, as we had it in the very first discussion that was for January. Then pests, diseases, invasive species, drought, and adverse weather events, right? So, all these things are very important here. Also, agricultural expansion continues to be the main driver of deforestation and forest fragmentation, associated loss of forest biodiversity, right? So all these things are very, very important or relevant in that aspect here, right? So that is about it. Now, going on further, if you just have a look at it, so this is how the forests have been depicted all across the globe. So tropical forests are basically found in all the, like as shown in dark green here. Right, just a moment. So they are, as shown in dark green here, they are found in all these areas. 8 minutes, I'll just change the color. Right, so these ones shown in dark green here. So you see, this is basically a tropical forested area. Then we have this one, and obviously these portions in India and all the other, like South Asian and other countries here. So these are the various areas where we have your tropical rainforests, right? Or tropical forests. Then we speak about boreal. Boreal matlab taiga region. So this part over here and another expanse, over Eurasia over here, right? So that is there. Then we talk about the temperate. So right next to the boreal forest, we have temperate forests in different parts of the world, right? So these are all of your temperate forests here, Right. Lastly, we talk about the subtropical ones that are found in the subtropical regions over here, then over here, even some parts of India, and that is about it. Right? This is how we have all the different four distinct kinds of forests all across the globe, wherein we talk about the tropical forests that are going to be present here. We speak about the boreal forests that are going to be present here. We talk about the temperate ones that are going to be here, and then we also spoke about the subtropical ones that are going to be present over there. Right, so that is with respect to all these forests over here, right? Now I'll give you guys a minute or two to go through these things here. So please read through this slide first. Please read through the slide and then we'll go on further. In case of any doubts, you can ask me right away. Have you read through this slide, guys? Alright, now please go on and read through the slide here, which was or which pertains to the key findings of the report here. Alright, so I hope you guys have read through these. I don't think so anybody has a doubt because I have still not been asked any questions per se, right? So I will continue with the discussion now, right? Now, coming on to the next aspect here, let's go on and talk. Let's just have a look at the forest distribution as well first. Please look at the forest distribution here, guys. All right, now going on further, guys, let's continue with where we had left off last. Now, talking about the next aspect or the next thing here, we will discuss about your India's first dolphin observatory. Now, this one is also very, very interesting. Why? Because this has recently come out here. So the Bihar government, right? The Bihar government is setting up India's first observatory for Gangetic dolphins in the Bhagalpur district, right? So that is the first time ever such an observatory for Gangetic river dolphins is going to be set up. The observatory is constructed at the Vikramshila Gangetic Dolphin Sanctuary. That is going to be there, right? Important, याद रखना कहाँ पर है. It is going to be in the state of Bihar. Very, very important. You will be asked certain questions pertaining to this, so please be prepared accordingly. The observatory will aim to promote ecotourism, right? It is going to be aiming to produce or give a stimulus or boost to ecotourism. And furthermore, there would be no adverse impact on the river's ecology as the observatory is being constructed on a Sultanganj Agwani Ghat bridge over the Ganga, right? So that is with respect to the like this particular observatory here, right? Going on further, talking about the Gangetic River dolphin here. So, what is it all about? What is it related to? How does it act, and all those things? So, talking about the Gangetic dolphin here, the IUCN status of the Gangetic dolphin is what it is endangered, right? So, what is it? It is going to be endangered. Also, they prefer deep waters in and around the confluence of rivers, right? So, where do they prefer to live? They prefer to live in the deep waters in and around the confluence of rivers, and they can only live in fresh water and are essentially blind. Please be very careful with respect to this, that they can live only in fresh water and they are essentially blind. They are reliable indicators of health and right, so they are reliable indicators of the health of the entire river ecosystem. Absolutely correct. And also know that it is the national aquatic animal of India, right? So it is the national aquatic animal of India, right? So that is an important aspect here. Now, going on further, it can be found in the Ganges, Brahmaputra, Meghna, and Karnapali Sango river systems of Nepal and India, as well as Bangladesh here, right? So, that is about it. Furthermore, major threats to dolphins in India include overfishing in the habitat, pollution, infrastructure at, when we speak of it, so infrastructure where? Infrastructure basically at what points? Like maybe there is a barrage or there is a bridge, something like that. Gangetic dolphins are also one of the or one among the 21 species identified under the centrally sponsored scheme of development of wildlife habitat. Conservation Action Plan for the Gangetic Dolphin 2010-2020 has identified threats to the Gangetic dolphins and impact of the river traffic, irrigation canals, and depletion of the prey based on dolphin populations, right? So that is with respect to it over here, right? Going on further, what is another very important aspect over here? So when we speak of it, there is something that is called as what? There is something that is called as, just a moment. So there is like we need to have various conservation impacts and conservation efforts in place. So the dolphin program is being run, the dolphin sanctuaries are being built, and under that same initiative here, एक डॉल्फिन ऑब्जर्वेटरी भी बनी है where it is going to be the Vikramshila Gangetic Sanctuary के अंदर. So the observatory is going to be or is constructed. So the observatory, like please read the second point over here. Right, the observatory is constructed at Vikramshila Gangetic Dolphin Sanctuary and like VGDS that is here, right? So that is about it. And on that note, we have discussed about this one as well. I'll give you guys a minute to go through this slide and then we'll go on to almost the last topic for today. Please read through the slide. All right. Please read through this slide as well. All right. So I guess this is clear to everybody, right? I hope you have read about both the sanctuary and what exactly the Gangetic River dolphin is like, how does it behave, what is the nature, what is the habit. So all those things must be clear to you guys now, right? Also, guys, these kind of current affairs wherein we speak of something that has just come up or has been there for quite some time, so that is important here, right? Is that clear? All right. Now, going on further, let's talk about the next aspect here, wherein we come to the next current affair over here, which is what? Which is the climate adaptation and resilience for South Asia CARE project, right? So, this is something that you guys must have heard about as well. So, what do we understand by the CARE project? CARE project क्या है आपका? So, when we talk about the CARE project here, वो क्या बोलता है? So basically, the World Bank Board of Executive Directors approved a $39.5 million CARE project to bolster climate action in South Asia. Right. South Asia is highly vulnerable to socio-economic impacts of climate-related hazards, and between 1990 and 2019, more than 1,000 climate-induced disasters in South Asia affected about 1.7 billion people and caused more than $127 billion in damages. The World Bank estimated that the climate change could drive 62 million people in South Asia into extreme poverty, right? So that is what could have and what would have happened over here, right? So that is about it. Now, talking about this project in a little bit more detail. So, what does climate adaptation and resilience for South Asia? That is the CARE project deal with. So, the project will help build resilience to climate threats and disasters by sharing regional data and knowledge, right? So, like area specific data and knowledge is going to be available to people now, right? Now, going on further, what is the next thing here? It will help in developing regional standards and guidelines, right, for promoting climate resilient policies as well as investments, right? So, those things is going to be there. The project, right? So, when we speak about the project will help develop a public platform to inform climate planning and investments and fund technology to support resilient policies and investments. The project will help develop a public platform to inform climate planning and investments and fund technology to support resilience in South Asia. It will fund a public domain platform known as Regional Resilience Data and Analytics Service with information about weather hazards, climate variability, and sector specific data to help policymakers assess climate risks. Right, it will also assess climate impacts in the districts across Bangladesh, Nepal, and Pakistan to support agriculture, livestock, water, and transport. The 39.5 million care project includes a $36 million grant from the International Data, or rather International Development Association, and a 3.5 million from the Program for Asia Resilience to Climate Change, right? So that is with respect to the care project here. So I will give you guys a minute to read through this one first. Please read through the this part of the care project first, and then we'll go on further. Please read through it. All right, guys. Now please read this slide. The last slide for today now. All right. So, guys, on that note, I will be ending the discussion here for today. So, that was all, these were all the current affairs that we had to discuss for the month of May here, right? Tomorrow, we will continue with the month of June, right? And we will discuss a couple of current affairs from the month of June, then, right? So, on that note, I will be ending the discussion here today. In case you guys have any doubts with respect to anything in particular, please feel free to reach out to me and ask me whatever doubts you have. Right? So thank you so much for attending the session here, guys. I hope you guys have understood everything clearly. In case of any doubts, please feel free to reach out to me here, right? So on that note, guys, study well, revise well, and take care. And I'll see you guys tomorrow again at 12:15, right? Keep learning, and I hope you guys revise too, right? So have a great day ahead, guys. See you guys tomorrow. All right? Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.